Yeah, I totally believe for myself that Mars is inhabited. And I do believe that there's probably humans like us there. What was his name? Quite a long time ago, I had a long conversation in Mesa, Arizona with Virgil Armstrong Postlethwaite. Virgil Armstrong and I sat in a restaurant in Mesa, Arizona many years ago and talked about the people who were on Mars. And Virgil was the guy, from what I gather, was the man who came up with the idea. He was a military CIA operative, and he's the guy that came up with the idea for Green Berets. That was his idea, Green Beret. And he worked with the CIA. And so I loved sitting and talking with Virgil Armstrong. But he brought out about how, in that conversation, how there were many thousands of people or more like us, humans like us, on Mars at that time. And I would never surprised.
What year was this that you were talking about?
This was probably 50, that was probably 80, mid-80s.
Amazing.
I would say 85, 86, 87, something like that.
Could you describe the human military bases on the dark side of the moon, Mars, and the Mars probes as related to you by the Andromedans, and how the Alpha Draconians fit into this scenario?
The Mars probes, the Russian and the US one, they're gone. They were destroyed. They're history. There's no secret here about, well, it's taking pictures privately. You know, and it doesn't matter whether you believe that or not, it's history. Okay. March of '89, the Russians took pictures. Mars was invaded. We had a human colony there of 300,000, so I'm told. One was underground, one was above ground, Adam and Eve. They are conquered, they're being taken over. The human beings that are from Earth that volunteered or were kidnapped to go there are in deep trouble. Many of them have already been eaten, some of them have already been killed. There is nothing we can do here as a race to help them.
So Mars was conquered by the Alpha Draconians?
That's right. They came in there. There's 100,000 of them there. They have approximately 2,111 scout craft there. They're in an area underground that is 64 square miles, known on Mars as the area of Tempe Terra. That's where their base is. It's an ancient base that they had. It's over 1 million years old, and the last time it was in full bloom was 317,000 years ago.
Now, if we begin to train all our telescopes on that, are we going to be able to see activity going on there?
I suppose that we would. I have a feeling that they already are seeing incredible amounts of activity, but they're not allowed to say it. They're just not allowed to say it. Nor, who's going to want to jeopardize going to jail, being ridiculed, being fired, giving up everything they have to come up and say, well, I'm an astronomer, and I was looking at Mars, and I saw alien craft, and I know there's a base there, and it's being conquered by reptilian aliens. Who's going to have the guts to come up and say it?
Well, by the way, and I will just say it, I always get myself in trouble, but Zecharia Sitchin is a disinformant. I think he started out okay, but I met him in Switzerland 4 years ago, and he gave a lecture, in the same place I was giving a lecture, and he totally turned around everything he was saying. He denied everything. So something happened there, and long story, but just know that whatever he's saying now isn't exactly the truth. The original colonists on this planet, again I'm condensing a lot because you can read about it in that book, were reptilian beings. Reptilians represent about 25% of the population of this galaxy. Human life form represents about 70% of the life forms in this particular galaxy. And the human civilizations that existed in this galaxy originated in what is called the Lyrian star system. And I'll put that word up on the board for you because you may hear it a lot in the future. The star system was called Lyrae. And for all intents and purposes, that was the home star system of all human life in this galaxy. And there is another star system that can be seen, I believe, from the southern hemisphere that is called Draco. And it was from here that the reptilian civilizations or beings existed, and they actually attacked the Illyrian civilization and broke it up into many pieces. And the refugees of the Illyrian star system fanned out throughout this sector of the galaxy and occupied a lot of the star systems that are within this particular sector. Now, if you look at our galaxy, about the Milky Way galaxy, it kind of looks like a pinwheel, like that. And this particular solar system that we are in occupies one little point on the tip of one of the arms that reaches out into deep space. So that if you were an invasion force and sought to occupy an entire galaxy, and you came upon a shape like this, the most logical thing for you to do would be to occupy all the various points, thereby surrounding the entire inner portion of the galaxy, and then you can take your time working your way in, because in effect you already won. So that is what the Dracos have done, or the Draconians have done. And they occupied the Earth first. They were the very first colonists on this planet. And so the Draco occupied this planet first. Human refugees from the Illyrian star system came here many thousands of years later. And there were many clashes between the two, because reptilian and mammalian life forms are not conducive to living together. They need different environment, they need different type of food, they need different type of culture, and they don't mix. So there was always conflict. And at one point it was decided that there would be some type of effort to stop the fighting and to merge the two sides together. They decided to make a third race of people, one that would be considered native to the Earth. And the deal was that they would mix reptilian with human genetics to create a new race. Now, the reptilians were androgynous. That means there was male and female within the same body. There was not a separation of sexes. And so in order to create this third race, the reptilians only agreed to it if a reptilian body was used first and human genetics were added to it. And this is why in the Bible it says, "Let us make man in our image." It's plural. And in the Old Testament, all references to God are plural, as if it were more than one. And that's why it says, "Let us make man in our image." And scientifically, you can prove this. Any of you who are in the medical profession, all you have to do is look at how a human fetus gestates in the womb. And you will see that it starts out reptilian-like, and then as it develops, it becomes more human-like in the second and third trimester. And so this is what actually is occurring. The genetics are opening up in the sequences in which they were formated. It was reptilian first, human genetics were added to that, so during the gestation period, that is what formulates. It's just plain as day. Now, what happened was, and this is almost comical when you think about it, although it's really not funny, that when each side donated the genetics to create this new race, they programmed their genetics to be dominant over the other, so that there's always conflict within your own body. That's why your brain is split into left and right hemispheres. That's why you have a reptilian brain and a mammalian brain. That's why you have a reptilian lymphatic system, and you have also skin that wrinkles and peels, as well as other mammalian factors. You are all hybrids of reptilian and human genetics. That's what makes civilization on this planet so unique, because that doesn't exist anywhere else in this galaxy. And that's why there is so much interest in this planet from elsewhere. And what happened with the Atlanteans? Those who survived went to what is now Egypt, Greece, North America, and South America, and parts of Central America. And in Central America, it's very interesting because there they mixed with the remnants of the Lemurians. And there was created the Inca Empire, in especially central and western South America. Now, contrary to scientific opinion, the American Indians and South American Indians didn't one day decide to leave China and walk across the Bering Straits of Alaska and down North America and to South America. That just did not happen. First of all, their shoes would have worn out a long time before they reached there. Very rough crowd. Next time you come, you got to take some laugh spray. And does it even make sense? Because under that logic, the Indians of South America would have arrived there last, correct? The last location. Then why is it that location had the most advanced civilization? Wouldn't that have taken longer to exist than, let's say, the Eskimos in Alaska? Wouldn't they have the most advanced? They were the first ones there, and they had no civilization. And so the reptilians underneath the earth felt it was their time to come to the surface and start retaking it. But they did it in such a way that it was insidious and quiet. And it was through more hybridization. Humans already were hybrids, reptilian-human, but their features were predominantly human. So if after all this time a purebred reptilian came to the surface, that would cause horror and fear. So they couldn't do that. They had to create further hybridization, and they started with the Sumerian civilization in what is now Iraq, or southern Iraq, and in fact, very much close to and including what is now Kuwait. And so they started with the civilization called Sumer. And if you look in history books or art books under the god and goddess of Sumer, you will see that the god and goddess were Nimrod and Semiramis. This is the god and goddess. Now, why do you think reptilian beings would have a god-goddess as a deity? Why wouldn't it just be a god or just a goddess? Because they're androgynous. And in order to get that into mammalian symbology, they need a male and female component of the one god. So they have god and goddess. And if you look up Nimrod and Semiramis, what they look like reptilians. They look like human form with a reptilian head and hands and feet holding a human baby. That was the god and goddess of Sumer. One of my clients in Arizona, who again I cannot name, but who's quite an interesting character, the people that worked for this person went on a bike ride or a dirt bike ride up to the northern mountains of Arizona, and lo and behold, in the middle of nowhere were army tanks sitting. Nowhere. And they would want to get away. No explanation. You don't ask when a tank is pointing at you. But just a week later is when all the fires started. In Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado. They do this every year. Why? What did I tell you the last time I was here? I said many of these reptilians are coming up to the surface, and they start fires to keep people away so that you don't see them.